Hello. Yes, we are here and we want to start the actual coding. And we are starting with HTML. Yeah, welcome to Coding with Casey. I want to make sure that I teach programming in the simplest way. I want to make sure that anybody learning coding can understand it because I will make it very simplified and I will go step by step from the scratch. So if you have not been following up, if you have not been, if this is where the first video you're seeing, you can check my other videos. I have different videos that I have done before to make sure that I prepare you to this point. But if you have the knowledge before, no problem, you can join us from here. Okay, so HTML. What is HTML? HTML stands for hypertext markup language. This is HTML. And HTML is the markup language that we use in building web pages and web applications. So yeah, so HTML is not actually a programming language. It's a markup language, just like the name actually says. It's a markup language, and this means that we can actually tell the browser when you're writing HTML, you're talking to the browser. So you're telling the browser that you have stuff that you want it to treat as such. That's just it. So it's you want a paragraph, you already know the tag that you will use, and then when you use it, the browser already knows that you want a paragraph and do it for you, right? So HTML is not difficult, it's easy, and I'm going to show you. So now, when you're writing HTML, what is the first thing you do? The first thing you do is you start from what we call the document type declaration. So the document, I have this awful handwriting, sorry, document type declaration. So the document type declaration. What is the document type declaration? So the document type declaration in HTML programming is the first line of code. And that code, you are telling the browser that this is HTML, and also you are telling HTML the version that you are using. This will help the browser to actually render your code and render it correctly, right? So the document type declaration. So let us actually write the code for document type declaration. So in marking things up in HTML, the markup, we use angle brackets. I think I gave you a lesson where I explained all the characters on the keyboard and what they are called. So I also told you about the angle brackets, which is the less than and greater than signs. Okay, so now if you want to actually do the doc type declaration, document type declaration, what you do is you open the angle bracket and you follow it immediately with a bang, which is a form of an announcement. You want to tell the browser that you are about to say something and it pays attention, right? And then you, in capital letter, you say doc type, you don't say document, you say doc type, and then you give a single space, and in small letter, you write HTML, and then you close the angle bracket. This is what we mean by document type declaration, the very first line of code that you write. So then the second line of code, which is the last line of code, HTML is just two single lines of codes, but in the second line, something can go in between, and we're going to see. So now, the second thing you do is to give the root element. We're going to come in the next lesson, I'm going to explain some bunch of stuff, right? So the HTML element, you write HTML, you end it, and then you write so many other things in between this and something that looks like it, but not exactly that. There will be a slash here in this way, right? So this is how to write HTML, and this is all. But this dash 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 you hear, so many things can go in between there. Yeah, we can bring something that looks like this HTML but a different name and put it right here, and so many of them. And that is what we call nesting of an element. Like I said, I'm going to treat all these things. What is an element? What is a tag? What is start and end tag and all that in the next lesson. So now this. So if you want to put so many other stuff inside this, you don't have to do it in a single line because you wouldn't even have space. So for readability, you have to actually come down somewhere here and then end the HTML. This is the root of the language where every other thing is contained, right? So now you can see this as the parent element, the root element, the grandparent element that contains every other element, right? And we say that the HTML has two children. The two children it has is the head and the body. The head and the what? And the body. That is the only two elements we're going to put inside here. So if you want to put an element inside of another one, remember this is an element since it has the start and ending like this. So if you want to put an element, that element you're putting there is a child element. So and then which means the head and the body are children of the HTML element. So now we indent a little bit like two spaces. Why? To just visually denote that this one is inside this one to avoid confusion. But that doesn't actually affect the way your code runs. Even if all of them is in one single line, your code is going to run. Okay, so now we put the head, right? And because you might have some other thing inside it, you still come to this place and end the head, and then you open up the body, the second child, body, and then at the end here, you end the body. These are just two elements inside HTML, and this is how we do it, right? It must be like this. And I'm going to show you, and I've shown you, but I didn't actually point out this when we actually inspected a code, not inspection, but we viewed the page source, the source code that was actually written to translate to that web page. We saw it and we saw the first thing, which was the DOCTYPE declaration, and then HTML and all the bunch of stuff. Now, yes, this is the way it is. So everything can go inside the head and everything can go inside the body. The head actually contains all other stuff, all other elements that is talking about the giving information about the web application, right? So they are the head is containing metadata elements. That is those elements that all they do is just to help, right? Give information or do some background stuff. For example, when you're considering search engine optimization, SEO, you have a meta element that you use to actually say which keywords that a user might be searching, and then your web page will pop out, right? So all of those stuff, they are done inside the head. But in the body, what we have in the body are those things that we want the users to see, right? So if you're browsing and then you open your browser and you open any stuff, all those things that you see from the place you used to type www that we call the address bar, just after the address bar immediately down, all the things that you see there are all coded in the body. The programmer wrote it, or programmers wrote it inside the body, and that's why you are able to see them and interact with them, right? So in the body. So now, yes, what are the example of things that we can have in the head? We can have the style elements. Remember, I'm indenting because this one is a child of this and this is a child of this, and then HTML is the grandparent of whatever element I'm going to do here, because the element was born by the head and the head was born by the HTML. You have to understand this relationship because it's going to help us subsequently. All right, so here we can have the style element where we can do our normal styling, style, and then you can have so many other things like the title element, and then so many other things can go here, the title, etc. You can have the meta element. Don't worry, we're going to talk about that later, but let's have this one. So here you can have the H1 element, which is a heading, right? And then you can say, I am a passionate software engineer. Full stop. And then we have to close this. Close it, H1, H1. close it. Then we can have different paragraphs, and we want to write paragraph, we use this lorem ipsum blah blah blah, and then we end the paragraph slash and then this. You can have so many other paragraph here, right? Lorem 2 ipsum blah blah blah, and then you end the paragraph. So this is just the way we go, and this is the way we write. You have to understand this first before we move ahead, right? The structure, that the parent, the root element is the HTML, is started here and ended here. Where it is ending, you have a slash. We're going to talk about that later. And then in it, you have something that started here and ended here, number 1. And then you have another thing that started from here and ended here, number 2. That is the head and the body. 2 elements. So HTML inherently has only 2 children, the head and the body. You have to know that. Then we have the head that can have as many children, but there you cannot put what is supposed to be. You cannot put paragraph in the head. There are elements that can go inside the head, and there are elements that can go inside the body, even though there are some that actually can be in the head or be in the body, like the script elements that we use in introducing JavaScript to HTML. All right, so that is it. And then you observe the indentation, very, very important. If you're writing a code that you are going to come and read tomorrow, and then someone else, another programmer you're working with, team, you need to know all these things so that people can look at your code and understand the structure. Yeah. Okay. Please, I urge you to get your notes and your jotter so that as I'm going, you can be jotting some things. I believe that when you write, when you're learning, it sticks more. So please, and then if you have a question, don't forget the comment section. If you want a contribution, don't forget the comment section. I'm waiting for you there. So that is the end of this, and I will go on to the next one. Please, if you're watching me from Facebook or other social media, please don't forget to like, don't forget to follow me and comment so that we see what your mind is. If you want to help other people in your network, you can actually share it, and then other people can get the same teaching that I'm dishing out free here. And then if you're watching me from YouTube, sorry, please, I urge you to subscribe and hit the bell button so that you can get notifications each time I release anything like this. Thank you, and I see you in the next one.